Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and um, take stuff from YouTube. I didn't look back and see if I had my own personal ones, but I'm sure there's a gazillion things here on YouTube that is going to show us how to get started in Google Draw. This allows you guys at home to, to work this out. Right, here's some examples.
Hi, my name is Janie, and today I'm going to show you how to make a Google Drawing mosaic. So first, I just wanted to show you a couple of pictures of mosaics in general. They are drawings or patterns that are made out of little tiny pieces, and they could be all the same style, like maybe little squares or triangles,
Oops.
or you can have irregular shapes or different shapes mixed together. Here's another example here. And so typically they're made out of ceramic or stone. You might see them on a floor or on a wall, and they're held together with plaster or mortar, typically. And it's a style that was very popular in ancient Rome. Here's another example where you can see, this one has little circles and little rectangles, so you can make it however you like. Today what we're going to do is we're going to make it digital, and we're going to use Google Drawing to make a mosaic. And so what I'm going to show you in a minute is that you can add a picture or a drawing and then use little shapes on top of it to make your mosaic. Here's a couple more examples. This is one that I made from a picture of my kitty cat sleeping on the bed. Okay, so let's get started. So first you're going to want to go to your Google Drive. And so what you're going to do is open another tab. And then if you go to the 9 little squares here to your Google Apps launcher, you can select Google Drive right here. And so then I'm going to go to New. And I don't see Google Drawing here, so I have to hover over the word More and then move to the right and then select it, and that'll open up a Google Drawing. And one thing that's really cool about Google Drawings is that they auto-save just like any other Google application that you use. I'm going to go ahead and name this my Google Drawing Mosaic. And then the first thing we can do is color in this background. Right now, it's going to be clear if we download it, but I want to fill it in, and whatever I choose as a background will kind of be like the color that comes out between our shapes, kind of like that mortar that goes between the pieces. So you can choose, if I go, again, I right clicked and then you go to background. So I could choose a solid color, or there's another tab here for gradient, which kind of has a few different tones of the same color. And you can choose anything you like. Here's gray, and I have different shades of gray, or maybe I want to choose purple and have different shades of purple, or you could do solid if you like. Now that I have a background, I'm going to add some kind of an image. So there's a few ways you can do this. I go to Insert and then choose Image, and here are my choices. So for example, the one I did, I had a picture in my Google Drive. So I could choose Google Drive, or if you're on a PC or a Mac, you could upload from your computer. If you're on a Chromebook, you might choose Google Drive if you have pictures in there. And then I see it loading right here. And so I recently added a picture, or you could go to my drive and search in there. But here's the one that I want. And I could either drag it in, or I could click on it one time and go to Insert, and it'll put your picture in there. And so whatever kind of picture you add, I like to drag it so that it goes right in this corner. So I'm going to move it, just click and drag. And then I'm going to pull it by the corner to fill in the rest. So it kind of just doesn't fill in the bottom though. And the reason I want to pull it from the corner is I don't want to change the proportions. I don't want to smush it or stretch it out. If I accidentally pull it from the middle here, you see how it kind of makes it longer that way? If you make a mistake, you can always click Control Z to undo. And You can do it
Now,
as
where did
many
you get
times
that
as you
piece?
need
From all that
to
stuff
go
that
back
you
to
had?
the step that you want.
Wow.
So I'm going to pull the corner to fill it in. And then since I have too
Cool.
much space here on the bottom, I could click on my background,
If it doesn't
or
fit in the
we
bag,
also
you
call
can
it the
snap it
canvas.
away.
And then I see some little lines on the bottom right corner, and I could click and drag that to adjust the size of my canvas.
So
I want the
you wanna
canvas
snap
to
it?
be filled up by my picture.
or do you want to cut it?
And so that's what we want to do. Now, just a couple other ways. If you don't have a picture, you could go to New, More, Google Drawing, right? Add your background, whatever you want. And then I could, instead of adding something from Google Drive, I could just search the web, or I could use the camera. So maybe you want to do a mosaic of yourself. So once I do the camera tool, I can just take a picture of me. Or if I did a fabulous drawing and I want to make a mosaic of it, I could just hold up the paper and take a picture. So there I am. You can take a few pictures if you want and then choose the one you like. And then the same thing, I would adjust it to fill up here. If I decide not to use my picture, I could click on it and delete. The other thing you could do is insert image and search the web. If you're searching for a picture, I would recommend searching for something colorful like a flower or some kind of an animal or something in nature. So I'm going to try to search for a colorful bird. And here I have a few good ones that I could choose from. I'm just going to choose this first one and drag it in. And I'll adjust the size here. And I'll click on the canvas to get rid of that little extra space. And now I'm ready to begin. So once you have your background and the picture you want, the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to make little shapes over the picture. And there's different tools you could use, but I really like the polyline tool. But you could also use shape. So if I click on shape, I could, for example, make this whole thing out of triangles. And you have a few choices you could choose. But I like the flexibility of being able to make my own shapes, irregular shapes. So I'm going to go over to this line tool, and there's a little triangle right next to it that brings up a drop down, and that's where you'll find polyline. Basically, with the polyline tool, the way it works is I can click and then move my mouse, and you might see that there's a little blue line. So wherever I click, it makes like a little corner. And so if I want like a triangle, I could click, and then you want to bring the shape back together. And once you close the shape, you have this space that you can fill. And so I'm going to delete it and draw this over here, but I just wanted to show how it works. And oh, if you want to make like a curve, for example, if you want it more curved instead of hard edges like this, you just need to do more clicks. So for example, if I want to make the curve shape, I can click and then move a little and then click and then move a little, like, and making the curve, click, 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 and making a curve shape, and then I can seal it back together. So that's how you use the polyline tool. I'm going to click, whenever you're done using it and you want to either fill it in or delete a mistake, I can go back to this little arrow, and that's my selector tool. And so now you can see this is selected. I can just use the backspace to delete it. Now I'm going to click on this one to select it and use the backspace to delete it. Or you could also undo with Control Z. So now I'm going to make some little shapes here on my bird. And so I'm going to go back and select the polyline tool. I can tell it's not selected because when I move my cursor around, I see that little arrow. So I'm going to go back here and select it. And when it's selected, you should see this little plus sign. So now I like to focus on one color at a time and then fill in that color. And sometimes when you make one shape and you select your colors, it'll remember those. And so you could just keep drawing shapes. It makes it go a little faster. So I'm going to select just this dark green area, and then maybe I want to do bright green, and then maybe blue, and then maybe a slightly different blue over here. So I'm going to start by clicking and kind of making a little round shape, and I think I'm going to make kind of triangular, maybe like a little flame shape maybe. And uh-oh, I made a mistake here. It didn't seal my shape. If that happens to you and it's like, how do I get this unstuck? You can just go back to the selector tool and then either click delete or undo and try it again. That kind of happens a lot, especially if you're trying to do a little small shape, a tiny shape. And another tip that you can do is you can zoom in. So when I'm making really small shapes, I like to zoom in and I go to this little drop down here next to the magnifying glass. And maybe you want to do 200, or if you want to zoom in even more, you can go to that little drop down and click zoom in again, and it'll zoom in even more. Maybe that's a little too zoomed in, so I'm going to zoom out. That looks pretty good. Now I'm going to go back to the polyline tool, and I'm going to click and make a shape here just so that we can keep going with this. And now I have my shape.
But you do kind of want to use
so when
smaller
I'm done
shapes.
making a shape, I go to the selector tool. And now that it's selected, I can fill it in with this paint bucket. And I could also change the color of the border with that little pencil next to the paint bucket. So I'm going to try to match this color. And so I can kind of click around here and see what looks good, what looks close to that color. If I can't get a color quite close enough, you could also choose the closest one and then go to custom. And you'll be able to click around here to try to match it better. Maybe this one was a little, yeah, maybe I like that one, that shade a little better. As you click around, you'll see it change here. When you find one you like, click OK. I think that's okay. And now I see the selector is, it's highlighted here blue, so I know I'm not using the polyline tool. So if I want to keep going, I need to select the polyline again. And now I can keep drawing. Now I forgot to change my border color, so let's take a look at that. So I could, once I select my colors and I get them how I want, you see how it remembers the colors I picked? I could just keep going. So that'll make it go a lot faster. Maybe I want some more shapes here. But let's say if I had wanted to change that border color, when I go to the selector tool and select a shape, I could have clicked here on that border color and chosen a different color. And so it's probably best if when you make your first shape, you make the color exactly how you want. That way it keeps remembering the colors you chose, and you don't have to go back and fix each and every one. But it's up to you, whatever color you want to use as your border color, whatever background, use whatever you like. I would probably suggest keeping the same border color for all the pieces though. So now maybe I'm done with this color. Maybe I want more bright green here. So I'm going to make some more shapes here. And since I'm changing colors, I'm going to need to go to that selector tool and then just change it to a different shade. So maybe I want that color for the next few pieces. I'll go back to the polyline tool and make a few more shapes. And it should remember the last color that I chose. And one thing very important, do you notice I'm leaving some space between the shapes? You want to make sure you leave space. So just like a mosaic, right? You'll see, like here, you can see there's black between all the pieces. So you want to leave that color between it, just like you might see the plaster or mortar on a real mosaic. And then you would just keep going, and once you get to the next color, switch colors again and keep going. This does take quite a bit of time, but it looks really cool when it's done. Another tip I have is to use the polyline tool to highlight large pieces. So for example, when you get to the beak here, I might go to the polyline tool and make like a good curve. Like I'm gonna keep clicking, and I might just highlight this whole beak here. And so I'm gonna keep going around. And so for the upper part of the beak, I might just select that whole thing just so that it stands out. And then I can switch the color, and then I could go and select the bottom part of the beak here. And so one thing that happens when you select these large pieces is that they stand out. And remember to leave space between your pieces. So now that beak really stands out. But maybe for the feathers, I want to make smaller pieces. Another thing I like to do, for example, on this one, because my cat is black, but I'm not going to make this all the same color. One thing I noticed with this one is that here the light is hitting his fur, and it actually looks a little different. So what I did on my mosaic was I went through and I chose one color, like I did all the highlights that were white first. And then I was like, okay, this is a little bit darker. I'll do this. And then this is really dark. I'll do that color. And so it ended up looking, let me show you, it ended up looking like this when I was done. And so here was, where the light was hitting. And then, there were some red tones around his nose and ears. And so that's one way you could make a picture stand out that is all one color. I would look at the shading. This one is almost all the way done, but I haven't removed the picture that was underneath it. So I'm going to show you that part. So the way you do that is I'm going to zoom in because what I want to do is click on the picture in the back, but every time I try to click on it, because there's so many little pieces, it highlights one piece. So what you can do is zoom in. And now I'm going to try to click on the background, and you see it looks like it didn't select anything. But if I scroll up, I can see that the whole picture is selected. And so once you click on the background, between the pieces, click the delete key on your keyboard. And now I can see the background I chose. And if I choose, maybe I don't really like this color as much as I thought, I can zoom in a little bit more just so I could make sure I can right click on the background. So mine was green. And then I could go to background and change it if I want. Maybe I chose a solid green. Maybe I wanted a purple now. Let's see, how does that look? I'll zoom out. Yeah, maybe I like that. And if I don't like it, I can right click on the background again and go to the backgrounds and choose another color. And then find the one that I really like. And then I'll zoom out to 100%. And I think that's how I'm going to keep it. That's how I like it. Doesn't it look cool? And then what you could do, this auto saves in your Google Drive. But what you could also do is you could go to File and then download as a JPEG or a PNG to make it into an image file. And so maybe I also wanted to save it as a JPEG, and then you could use that to put in your Google Doc or on a website, whatever you want. And so here it is, as now it's an image file. Anyway, that is how you make a Google Drawing mosaic. I hope you enjoy it. Have fun.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Janie, and today I'm going to show you how to make a Google Drawing.
Let's stop that. All right. So what I want to do is escape full screen. All right. So I'm going to go back to this untitled drawing that I started yesterday. So what I want you guys to tell me is the first step. All right. Actually, I'm going to go back here. Open Google Drive. And I'm going to go to New. I'm going to go to, nope, that's not what I wanted. New. Google Draw. And I want to change the background. So who's going to tell me how to do that? Okay, so that's like right clicking right onto your background, and I'm going to pick black. Then I'm going to upload. Are you guys out there? Are you listening? Anybody out there?
Yeah,
Okay, good. Thanks. All right, so then I'm going to upload an image. Oh, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to upload from the web. And see what I can come up with. And you know what? I'm going to change it to that graphic because then that does flatten it out a little bit. Let's see what we can find here. Here's the one that I did yesterday. All right, so again, take the corner, drag it, make it the whole space in the background. It is, oops, too big. I'm gonna have to pull it up. I made it too big. Go here. Make it a little bit smaller. Then I could just make it a bit bigger. I think that is about where I want it to be. So as I'm working on this, I can zoom in if I wanted to work on a specific area. I'm going to grab my polyline tool and I'm going to go in here and start to make a shape. And once it's completed, it'll highlight like that, and then I can change the color. And the background I want transparent, I think. So then I'm going to go back, polyline, and do it again. So you definitely want to leave space. You don't want to back these up against each other. And there you go. So I'm going to continue with doing this. Oops. Sometimes you do that and you have to delete. Go there. Oops. All right, so should be able to continue this now all the way through. So you get what I mean, right? Okay, so I'm going to keep this. So I'm going to, oops, here. Right, and I'm going to change this to iris mosaic. And I'm going to save that in my drive. All right, so then, let's see, what time is it? 59. Okay, we have a little bit more time. So the biggest thing is to find an image that you want to work with. And I'm going to run through attendance real quick. I'm going to stop this. Chat. What? Oh, I wish. Not always. All right, attendance, Sapphire. All right, Naya, are you out there? Nancy.
Here.
Awesome. Blacker just left. Elizabeth. Nick. Natalie's here. Hannah Helm.
Here.
Amber.
Here.
Kylie.
Here.
Jessica Lang.
Here.
Kyle's here. Skylar. Kind of here. Jessica Mambula.
Here.
Diana.
Here.
Maya.
Here.
Hannah McNally.
Here.
Alice. John. Keisha.
Here.
Erica.
Here.
Jason. Ashley S. Zoe.
Here.
Jocelyn Willis. And Ashley Wolk. All right. Great. So anybody have any questions whatsoever about this particular project? All right, I'm going to stop this recording.